Welcome to Cherry Hill Tuition, where incredible results are achieved. In this mathematics tutorial, I will cover some of the excellent processes used by Cherry Hill to achieve the highest grades. Let's get started. You will notice that the question numbers are not consecutive and do not start from 1. This is simply because the questions refer to Cherry Hill specific material, but do not worry if you do not have access to this, as I will still cover the concepts in full. So question 2, we have been given a right angle and we have one side and one angle, and we need to work out the missing side x. In questions like this, we always need to use SOHCAHTOA, so the best thing to do is always write this formula down. The next thing that we should do is label our triangle. So the side opposite to the right angle and also the longest side is the hypotenuse. The side that's opposite theta, which is 31 degrees, is our opposite, and this is our adjacent. Now, we need to look at which formula we need to use out of SOHCAHTOA. To find this out, to work this out, we need to think about what we've been given and what we are trying to work out. So we've been given the opposite and we are trying to work out the hypotenuse. The adjacent does not really have a big part to play in this question. So we need to focus on a formula that focuses on the opposite and the hypotenuse. Hopefully you will agree that the formula that we need to use is so sine theta is equal to the opposite over hypotenuse. So let's plug in our values and get started to work out x. So sine of theta, theta is 31, is equal to opposite, which is 8, and our hypotenuse is x. Now we need to make x the subject. So let's start by multiplying everything by x. This will get rid of the x in the denominator and bring the x to the top as a numerator, leaving us with x sine of 31 is equal to 8 multiplied by x over x. Now on the right hand side, the x cancel out. So we are left with 8 is equal to x over x sine of 31 is equal to 8. Now the only thing stopping the x from being on its own is this sine of 31, and right now they are being multiplied by each other. So to get rid of this, we need to divide both sides by sine of 31. Okay, this leaves us with x sine of 31 over over sine of 31, and this is equal to 8 over sine of 31. On the left-hand side, the sine 31s cancel out, leaving us with x, and on the right-hand side, we have 8 over sine 31. The next part is very easy. All we need to do is plug 8 over sine 31 into our calculators and see what we get. So plugging this into our calculators, we get 15.53. Okay, so x is equal to 15.53. And that's our answer. This might seem a little bit tricky, but once you practice, it will become perfect and a lot easier for you to do. Now, I would advise you to pause this video and try this question again on your own without looking at my working out to check if you get the right answer. Question 5, we have another right angle triangle and we need to use a similar method to the one we did before and work out y. So let's start by writing down SOHCAHTOA and then also labeling our triangle. So the opposite is here because it's opposite theta. This is the hypotenuse and this is the adjacent. So this is similar to the question we had before. The adjacent does not really have a big part to play in this question. We are focusing on the information that we've been given and also the information we are trying to work out. In this case, the opposite and the hypotenuse. Because we have the opposite and we are working out the hypotenuse, we need to use sine. So sine of theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Now let's go ahead and plug in our values. So theta is 45, and this is equal to the opposite, which is 5, over the hypotenuse, which is y. Now we need y to be a numerator, so we can multiply both sides by y, leaving us with y sine of 45 is equal to 5 multiplied by y over y. On the left-hand side, the y's cancel out. Now, the only thing, so let's just rewrite this so it's a little bit more clear. The only thing stopping the y from being on its own is this sine of 45. Right now, it's being multiplied by the y, so in order to get rid of it, we need to divide both sides by sine of 45. This leaves us with y sine of 45 over sine of 45 is equal to 5 over sine of 45. On the left-hand side, the sine 45's cancel out, leaving us with y, and on the right-hand side, we have 5 over sine of 45. And now we just need to plug this in into our calculators and see what we get. So plugging 5 over sine 45 into our calculators leaves us with 7.07. And that's our value of y. Okay, so again, try this question on your own without looking at my working out to check if you get the right answer. Question 8, we have another right angle triangle, so let's start by writing down SOHCAHTOA and labeling our triangle. So this is the hypotenuse, this is the opposite, and this is the adjacent. So again, let's try and think about which information we have and what we're trying to work out. So we have the adjacent and we are trying to work out the hypotenuse. The opposite does not really have much of a role to play in this question. So hopefully you can see that we will need to use cos because we have the adjacent and we are trying to work out the hypotenuse. So let's plug our values in. Theta is 38. This is equal to adjacent, which is 7, over the hypotenuse, which is x. Now what we need to do is get x on its own, so we can multiply both sides by x in order to have x as a numerator, leaving us with x cos of 38, which is equal to 7 multiplied by x over x. The x's cancel out on the left-hand side, leaving us with x cos of 38 is equal to 7. The only thing stopping the x from being on its own is this cos 38. So what we need to do is divide both sides by cos 38, leaving us with x cos of 38 over cos of 38 is equal to 7 over cos of 38. The cos 38's cancel out on the left-hand side, leaving us with x is equal to 7 over cos of 38. And now we just need to plug this into our calculators to check what the value of 7 over cos of 38 is. This should give you x is equal to 8.88. Okay? So try this question again on your own to check if you get the right answer. Question 12, we have another right angle triangle and we need to work out the value of y. So the first thing we need to do is write down our formula, which is SOHCAHTOA. And we follow on from this by labeling our triangle. So the hypotenuse is always the longest side opposite the right angle. The adjacent is the base, and the opposite is the side that's opposite the theta angle, which is 57. A quick thing to remember is that the position of the opposite and the adjacent depends on where theta is. So hypotenuse will always stay the same. It's always the longest side opposite the right angle, but opposite and adjacent always depend on where theta is. Okay, so in this case, because this is theta here, the side opposite would be the opposite and the other one would be the adjacent. Okay? So what we need to now do is look at what we're trying to work out and what we've been given. So we've been given the adjacent and we are trying to work out the hypotenuse. So I'll give you guys 30 seconds to just think about which formula we will need to use. Hopefully you guys will agree that we will need to use cos because that formula is the one that involves A and H, the adjacent and the hypotenuse. Okay, so cos of theta is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Now we can plug in our values and check what we get. So cos theta, and theta is 57 degrees, is equal to the adjacent, which is 10, over the hypotenuse, which is y. Now we need to rearrange and make y the subject. So what we can do is bring y to the top by multiplying both sides by y, leaving us with y cos of 57 is equal to 10 multiplied by y over y. On the right hand side, the y's cancel out, leaving us with y cos 57 is equal to 10. Now the only thing stopping the y from being on its own is this cos 57, so we can divide both sides by cos of 57. Leaving us with y cos of 57 over cos of 57 is equal to 10 over cos of 57. Okay, so the cos 57s cancel out and we are left with y is equal to 10 over cos of 57. And now all we need to do is plug this into our calculators and see what we get. So putting this into our calculators, you should get 18.36 degrees. Okay, so have a go at this question on your own and check if your answer matches mine. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, practice makes perfect. Never give up. I will see you in the next tutorial.